Welcome to this short tutorial on how to update the firmware of your ConBee free Zigbee coordinator. This tutorial will guide you through the process of downloading the GCFFlasher executable and the recent firmware image. After that, we will use a terminal to interact with the GCFFlasher in order to update the firmware on the device itself. Start by downloading the most recent version of the GCFFlasher. For that, use your browser to navigate to the first link in the video description. Ensure you download the most recent version of the GCFFlasher. If you're in doubt about what version to use, just check for the most recent upload timestamp. After that, navigate to the second link in the video description and download the most recent firmware image for your device. In our case, it's the ConBee free, and the most recent version at the time of recording this video is version 264E0900. Be careful not to accidentally download the MD5 checksum instead of the firmware image itself. The MD5 checksum can be used to validate the integrity of the firmware image, but this is outside the scope for this video. After you've downloaded both files, navigate to the download folder of your machine and extract the GCFFlasher zip file to a well-known location. In order to make it easier later on, place the firmware image you downloaded into the same folder you just extracted the GCFFlasher to. The GCFFlasher is a command line based application. This means we will have to open a terminal in order to interact with it. To do that, hold the Shift key of your keyboard and right click into an empty space in the directory we just created. Then click on the option Open PowerShell here. You should now see a terminal window with the path of the active folder in the top left. You can type dir and confirm that the output matches the content of your folder. You can now check if the GCFFlasher is working correctly by typing /gcfflasher.exe-h. This should show a help text. If you don't see this help text, you are likely missing the Visual C++ Redistributable. You can download and install that by following the third link in the video description. It's now time to disconnect your ConBee from your Raspberry Pi or home server and connect it to the Windows machine. After you've done that, you can type /gcfflasher.exe-l and it should list your ConBee and the port number that is assigned to it. We will need this COM port in the next step. We can now start flashing the firmware by again typing /gcfflasher.exe, but now -d and the COM port number we just detected. Then space -f and the firmware file. If you place the firmware file in the same folder you extracted the GCFFlasher to, you can just hit D and then tab for auto-completion. Otherwise you will have to specify the full path to the firmware image here. Hit enter and the firmware update should start. After the upload is completed, it's important to wait for a few seconds. This is done so the ConBee has time to validate the content we just uploaded. After you wait that time, you can now disconnect the ConBee from your Windows machine and re-plug it into your ConBee or home server. Congratulations, you now updated the firmware of your ConBee device. If anything goes wrong, you can just start over. The GCFFlasher will not overwrite the bootloader of the ConBee, so you can't really brick your device here. Thanks for watching.